So Dan, you kicked this off this week, this Tesla slump. You're the one who called it a code red. Now, Elon Musk has sent this email to employees where he says Tesla has a quote unquote good chance of exceeding the record deliveries in the fourth quarter, 90,700 cars, saying it would be the most deliveries in Tesla history. What's your take? Does that change your mind at all?
No, I mean, ultimately, I think they need to send an email like that out, just given what you're seeing in terms of almost a level of panic out there in the street. But I continue to view there's probably a better chance of me playing in the NBA than them hitting those numbers, this quarter. And I think fundamentally, the problem just comes down to what we're seeing in the U.S. in terms of demand, and especially in Europe and China. Take away that China piece, I think the numbers for the year, 360 to 400, those look like, Everest-like uphill battle to get there. And I think that's why I think the shorts are starting to feel like there's blood in the water, and you're seeing that with the stock.
Now, not everyone completely agrees with you. We spoke to Gene Munster of Loop Ventures earlier today. Take a listen to his take on Tesla.
I am a believer in Tesla. I think that they will, in fact, turn the corner and capture what will be a juicy growth curve around electrification of vehicles. We're at 1 or 2% today globally. Eventually, that's going to be 100%. But 2019 is going to be a difficult year. The demand question is quite critical.
Dan, do you believe Tesla will capture a juicy growth curve?
They need to get through the next 6-12 months. I mean, there's no doubt they're a leader and there's a transformational opportunity when you look out. But the problem, and really what the focus of the street is right here, is this next 12 months, if they're not profitable, they'll have to raise $1 to $2 billion more of capital. So I agree with the opportunity over the long term, but the problem here with the stock continues to be that profitability ramp in the second half of the year, given what we see in terms of ultimate demand here and the expense structure. That's the issue that investors are having with the stock. And even today with the email, it's flat. I think it just speaks to right now, it's a huge prove me story to get on the other side of this, hurricane-like headwinds.
So how far out is the long term, in your view, before things start to look better for Tesla?
I think the next 6 to 9 months are going to be extremely difficult because besides just EV tax credits continue to get cut in half, it's really about U.S. demand. If you don't see the pickup there on the base and mid-range, and take a step back, ASPs, the average revenue they're getting, are coming down significantly from the S and X to Model 3. So those are coming down, call it 15-20%. You need to sell that many more cars, right, in terms of total revenue. And I think with an expense structure where they are, I don't think we get on the other side till probably 1Q, 2Q 2020, which is why ultimately these next 3 to 4 quarters, I think it's going to be some of the most defining time for Musk to get Tesla through this period, especially with the $10 billion debt load.
Now, I'm looking at a chart here in the Bloomberg, which shows a forecast for deliveries for the year. Tesla's forecast is in the white. Yours is in the blue. Why do you think Tesla won't meet its own forecast for deliveries?
Yeah, and I would say right now, whisper expectations, where I think a lot of investors are thinking, is probably closer to 330 to 340 in terms of what they're going to do for the year. And I think what's started to happen is that there needs to be a hockey stick-like ramp. You need to see Europe, China demand really come through, and you need to see the rebound in the U.S., especially in the second half of the year, to hit those numbers. I think 2Q is key. I mean, you talk about the 90,000. I continue to think 75 to 80,000 is closer to where many expect them to come through. But second half of the ramp, they need to see that specifically in the U.S. If you do not see that, it's going to be extremely difficult to hit those numbers. And if you get to that low, called 310 to 330 number, because I think even some competitors today came out with 310, you're not profitable in the second half at that level. And I think that continues to be the issue for investors in terms of the P word, profitability.
Now, as Tesla fights these battles, as you say, puts out these fires over the course of the year or tries to, do you think that the competition will catch up? I mean, we know new electric offerings are coming from various different automakers, which, yes, have been slow to hit the market and have allowed Tesla to have this massive head start. But do you think the competition can actually catch up?
Well, like, they're well ahead of competition. I think the gap will start to narrow over the next 12 to 18 months. But right now they have a clear lead, which is that's part of the conundrum for them, because they're trying to double down on growth. You look at Model Y and some other areas, the pickup, Roadster. But you're starting to see competition emerging, especially in the U.S. as well as in Europe. So that's one like that. They have a bullseye on their back in terms of competition, which is why it's so important here that they navigate through this period, get to a profitable, sustainable, profitable call model, and then from there on, they'll be able to sort of manage investments. But right now, besides just competition, it comes down to what's happening in Giga as well as Fremont, while the company is trying to build out Giga 3 in Shanghai.
Now, I always got to ask your thoughts on Elon's leadership in particular. I'm looking at a screenshot of this email that he sent to the company, which nobody's perfect, but it had a lot of typos, had missing words. You know, what's your latest take on Elon's leadership and ability to meet the ambitious goals that he himself has set?
Yeah, I think he's taken personally steps in the right direction that you gotta commend in terms of the expense structure, where he's talked about sort of all hands on deck from expenses, as well as Zach, CFO, making sure that the expenses are, kept tight. But here, he's trying to rally the troops, trying to keep communication up. I think that's what he needs to do here, just given the challenges, because they need a leader. And ultimately, Musk realizes he is that leader for Tesla to navigate this period. Forget what all the noise in the street. And I think the doomsday scenarios are a little overdone here in terms of, some of those other calls out there. No one could deny what the company is and where they're going, but he needs to get them through this white knuckle period over the next 6 to 9 months. And I think he knows that.